Hello, everybody. This is Moon. I'm going to take you on a journey of learning tarot, and I'm going to do separate videos on certain aspects of learning tarot. And first, we're going to start out with what is tarot? All right, what is tarot? The tarot has entered an unprecedented boom period with more than thousands and thousands of decks now on the market. Their motifs range from angels to legends, Middle Ages to the millennium. The lure of a particular deck lies much in the artwork it does, in how the deck feels when you handle it. Your favorite decks usually speak to something private or sacred within you. They are like old friends you haven't visited for a long time. They feel right. If you're just beginning your work with the tarot, the best deck you can use is either the Rider-Waite or any Waite Smith clone. The latter includes Universal Waite, Albino Waite, and Golden Rider, and Morgan Greer. There's so many decks out there, but I recommend the Rider-Waite because of the traditional meanings that you can learn. Then you can go into more advanced decks. I'm more of an intuitive reader, so I like to use complicated decks like the Rackham Tarot. That one's complicated. The only reason why I like using that deck is because it has a lot of pictures and I can pull up storylines of people's situations. Now, it's a really complicated deck because of the numbering and stuff. What you'll want to do is learn some Roman numerals and then memorize all the major arcana numerals on the deck. So you want to learn. It's really easy. It only took me like less than 20 minutes to learn the Roman numerals because I bought this deck. It was the Nostradamus deck, and I was lost when it was a cheap deck, and I thought, oh, let me buy this because I'm really into Nostradamus and all that kind of stuff. And so when I was looking at it, the suits are different. It's not your regular pentacles, and you'll see if you have that deck, or you'll know if you already have that deck. But when I was looking at the deck, the first thing I did was I learned my Roman numerals, and that will help you out too, and you have a more sophisticated deck, like a really complicated. I'm kind of a beginner. I'm intermediate, but I like using complicated decks with a lot of art. A lot of art. You can get storylines out of the pictures. I like old style fortune telling. I seem to resonate with people when I pull storylines out of complicated cards then. Okay, so back to our lesson. First, you're going to want to learn the textbook definitions of the 78 cards and practice the traditional spreads. Read for yourself and your family, your friends, whoever will sit long enough. Practice until the definitions become as familiar to you as your name. And then read for strangers. The first time you read for someone you don't know, all kinds of emotions will wash through you. Exhilaration, nervousness, triumph, uncertainty. You'll quickly discover which cards demand more of your attention, which ones you know by heart, which ones pertain most strongly through a particular individual. Whether you stumble through reading or glide through smoothly, you'll have much clearer sense of the tarot's voice and the voice of the deck that you're using. As you work with the tarot, you'll find that some cards reoccur no matter how you shuffle the deck or what spread you use. The same cards keep coming up. Either that's somebody trying to tell you something, or these usually depict patterns in your life or in the life of the person whom you're reading. They assume a personal meaning that may not be in line with the textbook definition. If you're relentless, you'll eventually have highly personal definitions for all 78 cards. So most people are intuitive readers, and certain cards mean certain things to them. And that's what the tarot really is all about. What does this card mean to me? There are certain cards that you will love to welcome. There are others you will detest and dread. The Tower stands out as an excellent example. Its image from the deck doesn't vary much. The Tower stands tall and darkened. Ugly sky looms from menace. Lightning strikes its ancient walls. Objects or people and both tumble from its windows. The water below it seems to bubble and writhe like primal sea. Things are not good in shape. In the beginning, this card will send chills up your spine. You'll be expecting the absolute worst. A pink slip in the mail, a legal judgment that isn't in your favor, car problems, electrical problems. But as you work with the Tower, you'll realize it also is about breaking old routines and patterns that limit who and what you are. The card is equivalent of the planet Uranus in astrology, and that is it symbolizes the breaking apart of structures that tend to restrict you. The Tower puts you on a notice that change is required. If you don't change voluntarily, then change will impose on you by some external force. As with any language, your grasp of the tarot will change, evolve, and deepen the more you use it. Sometimes, the Tower is the divine will make it happen if it's not happening and it needs to happen. Sometimes it's for the better. So take that as. The typical tarot deck has, here's the arcana. The arcanas. The typical tarot deck has 78 cards that are divided into major arcana 22 and the minor arcana 56. Now, most of you advanced readers probably already know this, so everybody probably knows this. But I'm just going through this to help you learn tarot. So we're going to go over these things. Think of the majors as archetypal events, big issues that concern character and destiny. Minors are considered with circumstances and behavior that illustrate how the energy of the majors manifests in your daily life. The majors, numbered from 0 to 21, are ports in a journey that begins with the wildly innocent enthusiasm of the fool and ends with the sophistication and knowledge of the world. They are the most powerful cards in the deck. Sometimes the majors tell you all you need to know to understand the dynamics in this person's life. The minors are divided into 4 suits: wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. They correspond the 4 elements, the 4 personality types, the 4 seasons. The suits are the DNA of the minor arcana and the building blocks. Each suit is numbered 1 through 10 and has 4 court cards, the pips. The numbered cards represent patterns in which the archetypes weave into our lives. The court cards usually represent people or behavior patterns. In some decks, you'll find the court cards called something else. The page, the knight, for instance, or the prince and the princess. But if you're just beginning with tarot, it's easier to work with decks that have traditional names for the court cards. The mundane esoteric meanings for the cards will vary depending on which decks you use and which books you read. Once you become familiar with the cards, you'll supplement and expand the meanings from your own experience. Our meanings begin with the traditional definitions, then grew and expanded through trial and error, and so were yours. Now, the tarot journal, you can have a journal at first if you like. I was going to do this, but I just don't have time. So I do carry a journal, like a little tiny one in my purse for downloads, like, and if I'm thinking of like something in a video that I want to do, or it's always good to have a little mini one in your purse as well. So the tarot journal, in the beginning, a journal can be an invaluable aid. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. A notebook or a file in your computer will do, since you'll be reading mostly for yourself at first. Jot down the date, your question, the cards you pull, and your interpretation. Check back periodically to see how accurate the reading was. There's nothing like success to bolster your confidence. You may be surprised to discover how often you're right on target. The best readings are of those which your intuition speaks through the cards. Sometimes a journal points out a flawed interpretation of just one or two cards in a given reading. After a certain point, the journal may become cumbersome or your entries too erratic to be worth much help. So set the journal aside. There aren't any rules. You don't have to keep a journal to read tarot cards. It's simply a tool you'll outgrow for your use for it. Don't keep doing it because you feel you have to. Above all, tarot should be fun, thrilling, and liberating and empowering. Okay, so I'm going to do spreads later on after I do the meaning of the tarot. All right, but this is just a little thing on spreads. Spreads can be used by beginners, pros, and everyone in between. If you're just starting out, the shorter spreads are the easiest. In fact, the best way to learn definitions of the cards and pull a card a day. Jot the card and definition in your journal. And at the end of the day, note how this energy is manifested. If you've reached the point where you're reading for family and friends, you'll want to practice with more complex spreads. We recommend the spreads with 5 to 7 cards, which can be adapted for just about any question. And you know, with tarot, it's all about the question and all about the cards in the spread and the position of the cards in the spread. So which cards can be adapted for just any question? The ladle spread, for instance, packs a lot of information into 6 cards. It provides an overview of the question and pinpoints what's hidden, what's emerging, and what is visible. What you scoop out or obtain, and explains the key element in the issue. You can lay out another 6 cards for additional information for a total of 12 cards. When is it going to happen? You always ask this question, when is it going to happen? The trickiest part of tarot has to do with timing. Unlike astrology and numerology, the tarot doesn't lend itself any exact timing. This is actually one of the reasons we prefer tarot to other disciplines. We believe that the point of power in it is the present, and that the future is plastic and open-ended and can be changed in any moment. Having said this, one of the questions we hear most from people is, when will a particular event happen? Everyone seems to want to know when. When will I meet the love of my life? When will that job promotion come through? When will I get out of debt? Engaged, married, pregnant, divorced, blah, blah, blah. The best way to obtain a general time frame is to use one of the spreads that contains a built-in timing device. Some spreads that fall into this category are 6-card timing, 7-card pyramid, and 7-card weekly. Before you begin the reading, state the time frame, X number of days, weeks, or months. Other spreads have a timing factor built into them through the near future position in the layout. In the Celtic Cross, this is the 6th position. You can decide for the reading what period of time it covers. One quick method of answering the timing question is to pull cards until you reach an ace. Before you pull cards, decide whether they represent days, weeks, months, years. Then count the number of cards you turn over before you got the ace. The classic but more cumbersome method is the key of the cards to the season of the year. This can be done several ways. Our favorite way is to remove the major arcana from the deck and work with the court card pips. Pick one card from this deck of 56. This becomes your timing card. You could always have an extra deck laying on the side to do this out of, and that's what I do sometimes. The key to this system: wands equals springs, cups equals summer, pentacles equal autumn, and swords equal winter. And an ace represents the first week of the season. A 2 is the second week of the season, and so on, through the queen as the 13th week of the season. Kings represent the transition from one season to the next. Another timing method is used the numbers on the cards as a timing device. With the major arcana, remove the Fool from the deck. The probable timing will run from 1 to 22 days or weeks or months. Sometimes I use that, like I'll look at the top of the card and I'll just go with it. That's when I'm just doing intuitive reading stuff with the storyline. With the pip cards, you can go 10 months by adding the court cards. The time is extended to 14 months. The meanings of the cards don't come into play, only the numbers are important. Future changes depend on the questioner's beliefs, thoughts, feelings, choices, decisions. When pressed to the exact date, we'll provide answers using one or more of the methods discussed in this section. But any timing prediction should be prefaced with an explanation that a time frame can be changed through intent and desire. What if a reading doesn't make sense? It happens. The cards in front of you, you all know that what they mean, but when you try to put them together, they don't make sense. The best thing you can do is simply pick up the cards and try another spread. What I do is, if they seem not to make sense, you could always try to make a storyline out of it. Or try another spread. If this doesn't work, then try a spread using just the major arcana. If the cards still seem confused, tell the person that you're reading for that the cards don't seem to want to address that particular question or issue at the moment and suggest you move on to something else. It's a bad idea to tell the person that you can't read for them right now. The individual might interpret to mean that you have foreseen his or her immediate demise. All right. Should I read reverse cards? Reverse cards refer to that cards that are upside down, which you already know this. Some readers feel that the tarot isn't complete unless you read reverse cards, but you'll find pros and cons in this point. Other readers think that there are already enough negative cards to deal with, and so why add another 78 more? Unfortunately, you'll have to decide for yourself if you should read them reversed. Like, some readers don't read reversals, some do. At first thought, the sake of simplicity is probably a good idea to stick to the upright meanings for the deck. After all, it's much easier to learn 78 definitions than 156 definitions. We tend to read reversal cards only if they fall out in the deck that way, which is why you won't find the meanings for reverse position in this video. The only other instance is which use reverse cards is to answer a yes/no question. Quite often an individual will want a simple yay or nay about something. We then shuffle a deck, so there are reverse cards to deal out 5. If the majority are upright, the answer is yes. Vice versa would mean a resounding no. If you use one of the round decks, Mother Peace Tarot or the Cloisters, reverse meanings become something of a moot issue with round decks. There are no definite ups or downs to the cards. So deck care and preparation rituals. When you first get a tarot deck, you should shuffle and mix the cards until you feel they are ready to use. The idea is to infuse them with your particular energy and create a special link between you and the deck. Some readers suggest that you sleep with the new deck under your pillow, but frankly, it isn't necessary unless you feel it is. Sometimes I do that just so that the cards can pick up my energy. The traditional method calls for wrapping your decks in cloth and keeping them in a cloth or bags or wooden boxes. Silk is a favored wrap, although any fabric that appeals to you can be used. Bags, usually velvet or satin, decorated with embroidery, hand-painted. You can store your decks in wooden boxes, decorated tin containers, or packages they came in. But really, there aren't any rules. Do what feels right for you, or what feels best to you, or what feels right to you. Some people will keep the rituals and the cards neatly stored in bags and boxes and stashed in accessible places. Others have decks all over the house, most of them all together in just a rubber band or just sitting around. What I do is I have some of my decks in a crate and I'll just put a little cover over them so they don't get dusty. And then I just, on my dead time, I smudge them and stuff. We're getting to that. If a collector of tarot cards, it's important to keep the original packaging because the value of the deck decreases when the box or booklet is missing. You know how they have those cards. A lot of them go out of print. So it's good to keep the box, the original box that it came in. Preparation rituals, like most things connected with the tarot, are personal matter. We do little more than clear our minds. Take a deep breath and focus on the question and whoever you're reading for. You may prefer to light a candle or a stick of incense, do a short meditation, or offer a prayer before you begin. And I usually call in my angels, my ancestors, and my ascending masters. And you have all kinds of different types of rituals that you can use or call in a short little prayer before you begin. Now, clearing your tarot deck. When you're doing one reading after another, the cards often seem to lose their zip. So it is a good idea to clear and cleanse the deck from time to time. The classic way to clear a deck is to put the cards in order in the new decks. You know, like, I don't have a lot of time for that, but if you feel that you need to do that, you can. The cards are in a particular sequence that begins with the majors in numerical order, followed by each suit arranged from ace to king. After restoring the cards to their original order, shuffle the deck thoroughly and as you would a brand new deck. Occasionally use quartz crystals to clear decks. Place a crystal on top of a deck in between readings to absorb whatever vibrations may remain from prior readings. Crystals used for this purpose should be cleansed periodically in a mixture of sea salt and warm water, then dried and placed outside or on a windowsill where they can be recharged by the sun rays. Sometimes I clear my crystals on full moons too. I put them out over the moonlight, and in the morning I gather them and bring them in. If you have a crystal ball, you got to be careful, because my crystal ball caught the grass on fire. And that was crazy, but so you may purify your decks with crystals by smudging them Native American style in the smoke of sage or cedar. If smudge sticks are not available, burn some dried herbs like rosemary and sage in a fireproof dish. Pass the deck of cards over the crystal through the smoke several times. If you don't want to be bothered with any of this, just use a different deck. Now what I usually do is just sometimes I just do this on my dead time, but if you're back to back in readings, which I like that Palo Santo doesn't stay lit, so you don't burn down your house, but you can just clear your deck like that. I try to get all the smoke around my decks like on dead time when I just come into the room and I'm not doing anything. You want to just burn it like this. And what I do is I save these candle covers. You could get these really nice candles at Walgreens. Sometimes it's buy one, get two free. But I actually save the lids. You could put a little sand in them. And it's not going to burn because the Palo Santo, it goes out. And I always keep mine in there. It's nothing fancy. Or you can simply just take your deck, fan it out, and you're getting a gamma ray image of white light coming through the heavens into your head, into your third eye, all the way down to your throat, into your arm, and in through your deck. And I picture it going through my third eye into my deck. And then you take your deck and you blow it. You could just knock on it and it's ready to go. That's more easy than putting them all in order. That takes a lot of time. Some of us don't have that time. A lot of you are busy. Like me, I'm a workaholic. So now there's how does tarot compare to other divination tools? Now that's a good question. Oh, I forgot to show you. I'm sorry. I forgot to show you some of my crystals. They're real pretty. I like to use celestial light and apophyllite because they help me connect with the higher realms. And I like connecting with the higher realms to get better answers for my clients because that helps me get a better storyline, I believe, if I'm connecting with the higher realms. If you're more of an intuitive reader. Look at this, Sleepless Nights. I do like Moonstone. Moonstone is pretty. Labradorite. This helps bring your psychic powers in. You could keep a little smudge. You gotta watch out for the sage though. I just burn a tiny corner of it because it's real powerful and it burns. It will keep burning, so you do have to put the sage out and be careful. And when you have all your cards sitting around, like me, look, I have my drink here. You just got to be really careful. Like the diffuser, I'm kind of scared the water from the diffuser, so I put it back over there. I usually want to drink tea or have a beautiful, nice, relaxing bubble bath, and I use a nice rose. This is Peace Rose Oil for sensitive skin. And if you don't have a bath, you'll want to get bubble bath and body wash. You can use that in your shower. I like to use rose. Roses smell so good. There's another one called Balance by Bath and Body Works. All right, so here we go. How does tarot compare to other divination tools? Recently, a person I pulled some runes out during a reading. That was nice. But any divination tool or astrology, the I Ching runes, the medicine cards, sticks and bones is the best, used with the understanding that nothing is inscribed in stone. Your free will endows you with the power to write the scripts that you live, to change what you don't like, and to create more of what you do like. I look at divination as to help people make better choices in their life. So, you set the course of your life, not the tool, not the reader, not the destiny. When the cards are drawn or the runes are tossed, you have a picture of how your life exists in that moment and how it is most likely to evolve based on your present patterns or beliefs. When you change these beliefs, the pattern changes and you end up with different cards, different runes, different hexagrams. In this way, tarot and other divination systems are a way to track what's going on inside yourself or the person for whom you're reading. The beauty of tarot, however, is major difference from other divination system is that the language is visual. The artwork on the deck speaks directly to that part of us that lives and breathes in an archetypal world. Tarot is eternal made manifest. See, that lives and breathes in an archetypal world of archetypes, different archetypes. And we'll get to that in my next video. This is kind of taking long, and I'll do the next video on the next subject. And I'll do more videos on the meanings. I love other divination tools like runes. I got these little runes. I got different sets of runes. You can get the stone ones. I found them on Amazon. These are moonstone ones. Some people like amethyst ones. And for clearing your decks too, you can use... I don't see why people use that Florida water. That stuff stinks. And I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anybody, but it stinks, and I wouldn't want to put that smell all over my tarot cards. What I got here are different clearings with sage. I got holy water. This is from the Jordan River, okay? This has High Priest breastplate stones. High Priest. This is holy water. Let me just spray a little bit on. I like to put it on before I go to bed sometimes to protect me. Keep the negative energy out. You can just spray around. I got different types. This one was handmade by my friend that I buy crystals from her shop. Her shop is in New York. She sent me this for free, and it does have stones in it. I love ordering crystals. I got this selenite from her shop. It's beautiful. I know you could probably find these on Amazon at a good price as well. So I also got this for Pisces. I love Pisces. There's so many other things out there that you can use that you're comfortable with. All right, everybody, I'm going to get ready for bed. Have a cup of tea or drink some Monster before I go to bed. Good idea, eh? I'm going to come out with some other deck reviews, but I'm going to keep making these videos on how to learn tarot for you guys because I like listening to meanings. Sometimes we don't have time to go in the book and read all these meanings when you work a full-time job and you got 2 crazy dogs running around. You got to clean your house all the time. You got a busy life. So sometimes while you're listening to the videos, you could be cooking. This is why I made these videos. You could be cooking and listening to the meanings of the tarot and going to sleep or taking a bath. I like doing YouTube stuff while I'm in the bath, like listening to other people or chat with my family, friends, and Discord and stuff like that. So I'm going to come out with more videos for you to listen to while you do your things that if you're too busy, you could just listen to the videos while you're cooking and all that. All right. So you guys take care. Love and light. I love you all. Goodbye.